Good morning, everybody. It is morning time in California. Welcome from wherever you are watching, or if you're on the replay, good afternoon, good evening, good night, hello, good morning, whatever works for you, I'm with it. I am Jennifer Hart. I am the host of this show. It is Jennifer Hart Connected because connection is my thing. And I am a soul guide and a connector. If you don't know me, after my spiritual awakening, which is about 12 years ago, I have gone through a lot of exploration, self-discovery, and now I am helping to guide other people through their personal development journeys, through their spiritual awakenings by connecting them to the information, events, resources, people, and anything else that they might need along their way to be supported and to connect with other people that are on the same path. So thanks for being here today. I'm super excited. We have an awesome, hot topic with Emma Lyons. She is amazing. I've had her on before. I've actually had some work done with her, by her, which was awesome. We'll talk about that today. And we are going to be talking about if money blocks are secretly sabotaging your success, because you know what? They were definitely secretly sabotaging mine. And it's through the work that I've been doing that I was able to identify that was a blind spot and to come back now and share it with other people. Because we all like money, right? It helps us. It gives us freedom. To me, money gives me choices and freedom. I can give back. I can do so many awesome things with it. So without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about Emma, if you didn't catch her with us last time. She is a healer and a yoga teacher with over 10 years experience working with thousands of people. And when she realized that she couldn't continue her law career path, she had actually ended up discovering energy work and yoga. So despite finding her passion, she was still stuck for years in a cycle of constant self-doubt, sabotage, and procrastination. Now she specializes in working with entrepreneurs and business owners to release subconscious blocks and self-sabotage, which may be holding them back from thriving doing the work that they love. Let's bring on Emma. Hey.
Hey, Jennifer. Great introduction. I feel
Thank
very
you.
honored to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Well, it's so much. So when we had met the first time, I always like to talk about how I met people. My
Yeah.
friend Melissa had like shot me, like this is the signs and the synchronicities and the alignment of the world. So she had shot me like literally a text message was like, hey, I'm in this Clubhouse room. If you don't know what Clubhouse is, it's in a social media platform that's auditory only, and you don't see people except their picture. And she's like, I'm in this Clubhouse room. I think you'd really like it. And Emma was the one leading it, and she was doing short little hot seat coaching sessions and readings for people, intuitive readings. And so I happened to be free. So I was like, okay, join. And I came on, and I don't usually like volunteer myself a lot when it actually comes to being in front of groups, but it was a small group. And so I volunteered. I got a reading from Emma, and it was like spot on. Like everything she said, I was like, oh my God, yes. Like it was awesome. So then we connected after that, and we've been in contact ever since. And I had you on the show, I don't know, back in last year sometime, and we've been connecting again. And I actually had a full session from her, which we'll talk about. It was amazing. And so we wanted to come back on and connect with people and just share more information about the money blocks and the self-sabotage, because I think it's something that a lot of people knowingly or unknowingly are struggling with, right? Do you have anything to add?
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. I didn't know that was what it was with me. And I was like doing all this work on myself. And that's what I see. People come to me and they're like, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on all the how-tos and all the programs and building the funnels and getting the coaching, and it's still not working for me. What is wrong with me? Like people come to me literally thinking there's something wrong with them. Maybe they can't do this thing. So they have all what happens is that just feeds the little monster, the self-doubt monster, the imposter syndrome, and it can really just suck you dry. And then you feel like you have no more energy to do anything anymore. And you end up just not shining your light, not doing the thing that you're here to do. And my mission is to help people, break through those things so they actually do shine. Because what I'm really passionate about is that everyone just does what they love and thrives. And then by doing that, Jennifer, like you just by being that energy, people can see that, people get inspired by that, and you give them permission to do the same thing. So like working with one or two people, and then they go out and they start showing that they can thrive doing what they love. It creates this amazing domino effect.
Yeah.
So this is how we change the world, one person at a time, because you really do become that lighthouse of what's possible. And most people out there, we're told you got to work hard for money. It's a struggle. You can't do things that you enjoy to make money. It's hard. You have to get the job for that. And then you have the playtime separate. Like, these are all the programs that, most of us, to be honest, are brought up with, because that's what our parents were told. They were told an even bleaker story. So then we come in and we're like, we have all this stuff to share. And all these kind of stories that are in the subconscious that we don't even know are there consciously, they just keep playing out and blocking us from really stepping into it and really allowing it to work. And that sabotages us in so many sneaky different ways, Jennifer. I don't know how did it show up for you specifically?
Oh my gosh. Well, so for me, it was like I'd have money and then I wouldn't have money. And like doing the 9 to 5 job thing, I definitely was able to like move up the ladder and make more and more money, right? It was when I really stepped into being an entrepreneur, that's when I was like, oh, I might have some stuff in my space like that.
Yeah.
That's keeping me from actually being able to receive money for my services. And that self-doubt, the self-sabotage, again, getting paid for things that you love to do and that you're good at. Like, I freaking love to do these interviews. I love to put together events. I love to connect people. And it's so easy for me. And so it's been a journey figuring out, how do I get paid for this? Not only that, that's the how, but allowing it. Like, I literally had people calling me. It's so funny. My throat is so I'm still always working on this, right? Because we have like a money ceiling. And so as you get to the money ceiling, then you do some more work so that you can allow more money in. And money beliefs in general is like, what are your money beliefs? Are they bad? Is rich people bad? Does money bring bad things? Those are things to look at too. And that's all programmed through childhood, from our parents, from school, from our classmates, from society. So I just noticed that I was having a hard time accepting money, and that I was having a hard time putting prices on things, allowing money to come in. I'm cracking up because I usually have like this morning phlegm, but like not where like my voice is cracking so much. And I'm like, something's ready to be released here. And then also, people would call me and be like, hey, I want to hire you like to help me do this. And I couldn't say yes. It was like an no, I can't do that. Like, I can't accept that. Like, it's crazy. And so I've done a lot of personal development, a lot of different programs, all these different things. And I was in a space, I was like, I want to focus on money. I knew I needed to focus on money specifically. So I ended up in this program and taking a lot of these courses, which really opened me up. And so then that made me aware of the challenges with money, like everything you said, like the beliefs, the systems, what we're taught, and everything growing up in society, and the 9 to 5, and it has to be hard. And because our ancestors, they, like my grandparents, were in the Depression. So to them, money was hard to come by, so they thought, right? And then they passed that down to us in their stories and their beliefs and everything. And even in your DNA, if you want to get real deep. So that's kind of where I've been after I got that awareness. Now that's when I started like opening up to doing sessions around it. And I've seen an improvement. I feel like I still have a long way to go, but I acknowledge all the work that I've done thus far. And I'm seeing reaping the benefits of the work now and being able to accept. I started selling tickets. I sold a program, and those were like huge accomplishments for me, right?
Woo! Are you celebrating all of those things? Because we're also taught that we shouldn't celebrate the wins. I definitely had that program. And that I was kind of in a program where I would just put myself down all the time, and I wasn't allowing myself to celebrate those little wins. So what happened was I wasn't even seeing them. I wasn't even acknowledging them. And it would further feed into this kind of poor me story. And I see that happening with a lot of people, because we're not taught to celebrate the wins, and being an entrepreneur, it's can be quite like are running your own business or stepping into this new thing, especially if you're the only one in your family doing it. You have this long history. That's my family too. Nobody thinks this is possible. So you're carrying all that baggage and trying to step into, and the people, your family, they don't believe that it's possible because, they haven't seen it.
Right.
They think it's possible for someone else maybe, but it's not possible for someone close to them. So
Yeah.
they can try to pull you back, and they can do that, by kind of putting you down, kind of saying, "Oh, what are you doing there? That's a bit crazy. How is that going to work out?" And kind of planting this self-doubt, this doubt in your mind.
Yeah.
But all that only that can only take, that's because their own insecurities. They're not like consciously trying to destroy you or anything. They're trying to keep you safe. So the kind of intention is good there. But if you don't have the inner strength and the confidence to move past that, it can really end up affecting you. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened with me. And I see that happening with a lot of people. Like if they're close to their family, they can really get pulled into that, and it can really feed into the self-sabotage cycle. And people can get really stuck there and really frustrated and feel like nothing's working.
Yeah.
And they're kind of waiting. I don't know about you. I had every single self-sabotage in the book. I was waiting for my parents' approval. I thought I couldn't make money doing this work. I had to work hard for it. And I didn't think I was good enough. Everything that you could possibly mention. All the things that people come to me with, I've seen it all, and a lot of it I've seen in myself as well. So I really know how to help people get to the root of it, because lots of people, they treat this self-sabotage as if it's the problem. But it's not the actual problem. The problem is something even deeper. The self-sabotage, the self-doubt, however it's showing up for you, that's a symptom of some deeper belief that you have that's not in alignment with who you are, the person that you're stepping into. So you have this kind of cross purpose. You have this conflict basically in your belief system. Part of you wants to go this way and be successful as a spiritual entrepreneur or whatever it is that you're doing, and part of you is like, that's not possible. So it's like you're pulling yourself in two different directions, and that causes a conflict in your energy. I mean, obviously you're conflicted. You're not focused on one thing, and you might be consciously pouring all your energy into being successful, but if you don't deal with that leak, it can really pull you down the drain. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
what yeah,
Draining, literally
yeah,
draining, like in your energy. And I felt
wow,
that.
yeah,
So for people that might not be aware of this, so first of all, we're talking about subconsciousness. Like these things are hanging out in your subconscious, and
yeah,
we don't know them. They're blind spots because they are underneath our consciousness. So consciousness is something we're aware of, we know it, and then subconscious is like these sneaky little things that are hiding inside of our programming. And our subconscious mind is about 95% of what drives us every day. It's those little habits, it's the thoughts, it's the beliefs. Like we'll talk about it in a little bit here, but like for my writing and my blog and my book and all these things that I've been having these blocks on, I was able to consciously see like I had blocks there. I've done a lot of work, and I knew that I didn't know what the subconscious blocks were. So I've been working with people. You and I did a session about it to help bring those things out and release
yeah,
them through different
yeah.
modalities, energy work or hypnotherapy. There's so many things out there. But what I want to say is tell us like what is, like, we've kind of talked about it, but give me like a simple definition of what a money block is in the subconscious mind for someone who
Okay.
may have no idea what we've been talking about thus far.
So a money block, I suppose, in its purest form, is like a negative belief about money, or about that goes against what you want. So, like for example, a big one, making money is hard. You got to work hard for it. That's a huge money block that I see all the time in people. Because it's collective consciousness thing. But if you look around, the people who work the hardest, are the road sweepers, the cleaners, those people work really hard and they don't make that much money. So, it's not real. It's a lie that we're told. And, the people who are at the top, the CEOs, very often they're just supervising, and they're just like they're they're telling other people what to do basically, and that's their job. So it's absolutely not true that you got to work hard for money, but because we buy into that story, and because that's the collective consciousness story, and like you mentioned also before, our ancestors' story, it goes really, really deep. And if you buy into it, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see, I see people in their business working really, really hard, and this is where you get like this whole idea that you got to hustle, you got to stress all the time, you got to work 24 hours a day, and if you go on YouTube and look up entrepreneur, that's what's portrayed. You got to work super hard, you got to give up your life, you got to put every, and it's just not true. That's one way of doing it, and it's the hard way.
Right.
An easier way, and a way that's much more successful, to be fair, is to get in alignment. And that means release the conflicts that you've got going on, release those beliefs that you have to work hard for it. And, believe it or not, then it can be so easy. Like how we met doing that room. I mean, it was so easy. It's like people just kind of are doing rooms or talking about things, and the right kind of people just show up and they're ready to say yes. Like that's how it doesn't involve any hard work. And what I found is that actually hard work can go against it, because you've got all this negative energy and it's like everything is hard. And then, people, when you're talking to people, you've got that hard work energy going on, and people are kind of put off by it. So especially if you're in the kind of elevation or service where you're elevating people, you got to really keep your energy high and strong. And it's the people who make the most money are the people who don't necessarily work hard. They might, and it's not to say you definitely have to focus on what you want, and you have to walk in the direction of your desire, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't need this idea of struggle and, oh, it's hard work. It's a story that is a self-perpetuating, it's a self-created prophecy. And that's just not, it's not necessarily true. It's not inherently true. There is another way of doing things. And that's what I'm all about. I'm all about helping people create that energy in their life and in their business, because your business, and I love the way you talked about this, Jennifer, your business is an extension of you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so true that when you go on, being an entrepreneur, being a business person, when you're working in a job or whatever, doing something, there are things that you don't have to see. But being an entrepreneur, running your own business, all the stuff that you've been ignoring or avoiding, it kind of comes up and it's very visible to see. And I think to be successful as an entrepreneur, or to be really successful, and you've got to work through all that stuff. It's like a personal development boot camp journey, being an entrepreneur, being in business for yourself,
Yeah.
because really got to deal with that stuff if you want to be successful, and also if you want to have a life as well. That if you want to be happy and fulfilled and have a life, and have it all in, because success and making tons of money without being fulfilled and happy, that's not really success, is it? And lots of people end up there as well. And on the other scale of things, you have the spiritual people who buy into all these beliefs that money isn't spiritual, and they shouldn't charge for healing, and that they should give it away for free, and that to be a good person, they need to give it away for free. And the thing about those kind of beliefs is that if you're giving something away for free, most people won't really value it. They won't receive the value from it, because you're not seeing the value in what you're offering yourself.
Yeah,
So,
I actually want to chime in right there with my
yeah,
own personal story about that. So, I have been that person. I give a lot of away things for free, and then my energy is getting depleted because it's not an equal energy exchange. And so I do in-person events, and we were doing social events, and we had done ticketed events. And I noticed when we did a free event, we did a couple of them, the attendance of people who said they were going to attend a free event was way higher, but the actual people who showed up was way lower, because the people who paid for a ticket valued the event, valued our time, valued their time to actually show up. And that's why. So tomorrow I have an online virtual networking event, connecting and collaborating with networking. It's not focused on that, but Emma's going to be our featured healer. So if you are interested, it's only $10. And it's this perfect that you brought this up. I decided there's so many people out there doing free ones that I was like, no, I'm going to make it paid, because I want the people who show up It's $10. It's not breaking the bank. Like, but I want that commitment and that energy of people who want to be here, that are just like, oh, it's a free event, I'll just go. And that works out sometimes. And I mean, your thing was free on Clubhouse and we met and now we're collaborating. But I specifically, after my experiences, saw the difference of the energy. And I was like, I'm going to start at $10. Eventually, I hope to grow it to a higher amount when it has more people and more community. But start somewhere. And there's they call it, like a slang, skin in the game. So you put skin in the game by paying $10 to come to the event. One, you're most likely going to show up because you paid for it, even if it's only $10. And two, you're going to show up, you actually want to be there because you did put $10 towards it. It's not a lot of money, but it is the principle behind it. So I think that that's the perfect example of what you say. Like, and I have seen examples of people with programs, like cheaper programs are good because we're all different parts of our journey. You know, like I started out and I felt most comfortable investing a smaller amount, but the more I invested, the more committed I was, because I'm like, dang, I paid a lot of money for this. I'm going to show up to every class. I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to do this. It's like, you know, paying for school. We could get free education, but if you pay for it, you're going to value it more. Well, in a perfect world, right? Not everybody. So I think that's really important that you mentioned that. So we talked a little bit about what money blocks are. It's like beliefs, things hanging out in our subconscious. And I always think of it like an onion. So you do one little block and then something else comes up. And then the more that you clear, the more you become a channel of light and the lighthouse effect, the magnetic. So instead of like, because people always, you know, speak with their energy first. Like I can walk into a room. I never realized this until I became conscious of it, but I can feel like the people, and sometimes you just get an icky feeling from people. They got caca energy, like they got something in their space, you know? And so the more you clear for money, the more you become like this magnet to money, and money's like, yes. And it's a channel, right? It flows through us, and we want to keep the channel clear and empty and flowing. And so that's what you do in helping people with the work that you do. So
totally. And it's all about like money is just really like the deepest work, because I work with people on money blocks, but actually what I love seeing, and I love getting the feedback that it changes other areas of people's lives,
absolutely.
because not just their business, because money is kind of a symbol of that value exchange that we've just been talking about.
Right.
So it really starts with owning your own value. And a lot of the rooms that are run on Clubhouse now are called Own Your Value and Live Your Best Life, because most people out there, they ain't owning their own value, and they're not living their best life as a result of that. And other people aren't gonna buy from them if you're not owning your own value. So it's really such an inner game. We're taught in this reality that we need to go manipulating and changing the things on the outside, but we can't. That doesn't really work. It's like looking in a mirror and trying to make the image smile. We've got to smile first. We've got to make that change internally ourselves, and then the outside changes. So we've got it backwards, the way we've been taught to do it. We've been programmed by all this stuff that's just not true. It doesn't have to be true if we choose not to buy into it. So that's what it's all about. It's like such deep work. That's what I like. So money blocks and self-sabotage are just kind of the gateway to helping people own their value, hold their value, and have that reciprocated in the real world. Like in my program that I did last year, there was one lady who did it, and before, she's a personal trainer, and before the program, people used to try to bargain with her and about the program, try to get it a bit cheaper or whatever. And she was amazed that after the program, she never had that problem again. And that's the difference. That's because she wasn't saying anything different. She just was coming to it with a different energy. And people can feel that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's like you said, it's the energy that you give off, and people can really feel that. And
Yeah.
they tune into that. If you're not fully owning your value, and often people I work with, they know that what they're offering, their service is amazing, but the disconnect is they're not fully believing in their own worth. And that's such a huge part of the program and my work with people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that was and still something that I'm working on.
Yeah.
I always thought I was a super confident person, and people were like, "Oh, you're so confident." Like that was a compliment I'd get. And so when I actually started doing self-discovery, personal development, and I realized that I had a lot of challenges around self-worth and deservedness, I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. But that's because it's hanging out in my subconscious brain. I wasn't aware of it. And so on the outside, I felt like, and people felt like, oh yeah, you're confident, but it wasn't reflected, in my work as an entrepreneur or other areas of my life. And until I started to really dig into it and see, and now I'm working on self-love, self-worth, the deservedness of things, that's where I see the differences coming through. And that's through the work of, looking into the money blocks, because it's all related. And it doesn't even have to be about money, because the other thing we were going to talk about was like, what does it look like? What kind of self-sabotage examples could we give to people that of what it looks like of not having success in your life? Like, you're struggling, it's hard. That was me. I'll give it an example of the blog. So I have wanted to start this blog for like 10 years, probably. Like, I love to share my stories. I want to share what I'm up to, because I think that other people can learn from it. And I'll be the first one to try something and then say, hey, like, you should try it too. And when I really have a great experience, I'm like, yes, like, do it. And so I want to share that with people. But every time I sat down to write a blog, I would just sit there and stare at the pages. And it was really, really hard. And so you and I had a session and we worked on that. And I've, been doing a lot of work around it. I had no idea that I had all these creativity and blocks around writing, which has been really interesting to dive into. But I can actually see now the work that I've done coming to fruition and being able to write. So I did my very first email blast yesterday, which sounds super minor, but to me that was huge, and I was like, yes, like, that's taking the action. And so it's like, I can see how I was struggling. It was hard. I couldn't do it. And then now, after doing the work, I actually can see the actual results. Like, I wrote a blog. I haven't published it yet, but I have it all written out. I wrote the email. I think in the last week, I've wrote 3 very lengthy posts. Thank you, Sandy. She said my email blast was awesome. And so it's like, it's coming true now, and it's so easy and it's fun. The harder part for me has been the tech now. I'm like, yeah, I'll write away. And I'm like, how do I send it though? That's a whole different story. But yeah, do you have any examples for people that they can? Oh, you're here today because of the blast. Yes.
Woo! Yes. Well, congratulations, Jennifer. Like, it's really, to everyone listening, so important that you celebrate all your wins, because we were just talking, I think, before the call about, how it's very easy to just skim over all that stuff. And we've been taught to focus on the negative. But now it's time to change it. You focus on what you want. But yeah, other examples. And I like the throat is huge, like creativity blocks, because that's also, and I see when I work with people, lots of stuff here in the throat, because this is all about giving birth to your creation, and also second chakra. So it's all about creation and expressing who you are, giving it out into the world, and that can be really scary. So it's like I definitely had visibility blocks. Most people that I work with do on some level, and that can show up like being afraid to put yourself out there, being afraid to, it's actually like doing a Facebook Live is terrifying.
Oh my God. Yes.
And yeah, I mean, it's really not to be minimized, because it can bring up that really that fear of survival, because there's all this history of, particularly women, being burned at the stake for being witches and all this stuff, and being attacked. It's happening all the time now online. So putting yourself out there and doing something a little bit out of the box, it can seem really scary, because you're putting yourself up on a pedestal on a public platform where you can be attacked, and that's like survival. So trying to fight against that, with just it doesn't usually go anywhere. You've got to go to what the underlying fear is, because again, this is a symptom. So it can show up in visibility blocks, like Jennifer was talking about. It can show up as, working really hard and not getting anywhere. Or, also I want to say that, money blocks don't just affect people who are starting out. It affects people at all levels in business. So even people who are making six figures, they get stuck. They get stuck at their money ceiling. They can't, no matter what they do, they work really hard. They do all the right things. They buy all the right funnels and all the right things, and they just can't break through to making more than six figures, or at seven figures, trying to break through that. So it's the same blocks again and again. We're just expanding more and more. And I've worked with people at all levels, people starting out and people kind of at higher levels. And it's always the same thing. It's just releasing those fears. Releasing those fears. So you're being stuck at a money ceiling is one, like trying all the things and nothing working are also another one that I see a lot. And I've experienced this myself as well firsthand. Like doing all the things, getting really close, seems to be making some progress, and then whoosh, it's like someone pulls the rug out from under you and you go back to square one. That's a really typical sign of self-sabotage, because it's your survival. You making an extra $1,000 or making six figures or whatever, that does not trump the part of you which is like, if we do this, we're actually going to die, and that's why it's such a deep thing. And just plowing through doesn't necessarily work, because you're carrying all this fear with you. We got to deal with that first, and then we can step out with more confidence. Then we can make those calls and do it from a more congruent, confident energy, and that's what makes all the difference.
Yeah, definitely. The visibility piece that you're talking about, oh my gosh. So I'm connected in my referral network and in my network of people, of entrepreneurs. That is so big. Like, I can't tell you how many people are terrified. I'm very fortunate that I've always loved doing videos. My block of visibility was around the writing piece. And so it's interesting how it shows up differently for us. But I am super fortunate that since a kid, I've loved to be on videos. Now, putting me in a stage, like, I think that I want to be a speaker, but then when I was getting up there, I was having like panic and anxiety in my work of working on myself, and releasing blocks in general, and money blocks and everything else allows me to get up and be more confident. And that anxiety and nervous system response isn't there anymore, because I've been getting rid of the crap. So I see that for so many people. And what my mission is to help people with their journey, because like you said at the very beginning of this, is that we all have this incredible light to shine. We all deserve to do work that we love. I believe we came here with gifts, specific gifts. And as we use our gifts, people are waiting for our gifts, and it's like activating in that ripple effect that you were talking about. And the work that you do and the work that can be done can just create, like, I can think of 5 people that I have shared something with, and they all got touched, and then they're like rippling out. And it's so amazing to think, what would the world look like if we're all doing this work and creating a better life for ourselves in general? Because for me, fulfillment, you mentioned fulfillment earlier, is the most important piece. Like, sure, give me a lot of money, great, I could do things, but if I'm not fulfilled, then it means nothing. So it's finding that balance, but you also have to like know for yourself, what does that look like? What's important to you? What does the money get you? It's not money, it's not greed, it's what does money give you? And for me, it's options. It's options to get a massage every week for my mental and physical health, and to have sessions like with people like you that can help me with the things that I might have blind spots to. And so I'm very passionate about like personal development. I love it. I'm a lifelong learner, and I want everybody else to have the tools and resources and people that can help them. And so tell us about what does it look like about getting like the release and to the the root, to resolve the root cause. I put 2 words together there, related to money or just blocks in general.
Okay. Well, first of all, people have a lot of kind of weird concepts about this. People think that it's painful, that you got to go through the trauma again, that you got to relive it all, that it's going to be painful or sore and something like that. And that's just not true. It's really quick. It happens in an instant. And it happens, you don't need to go re-experience all the trauma again. What we need to do is just recognize it and release it. It's kind of like, I work with a few different modalities, but it's really, we can boil it down to a few different things. You recognize it. And like you mentioned, Jennifer, that's a huge part because we have blind spots. We all have blind spots, and we all, no matter how successful you are, the most successful people in the world, they have a coach, they have someone who helps them see the things that they're not seeing or that they don't want to see on some level because it's uncomfortable. So, getting that help to recognize it can be really useful. And then, we step further because also people can get stuck there. People can get stuck in the recognizing, and they can know that, oh, I'm like this because my mom dropped me on my head when I was a baby and my father left when I was 10 or whatever. And they can get really stuck in the story. And that can happen when people talk about the problems again and again. They can write a book about why they're like this, about what happened to them as child, and it just they're still stuck in the victim mode. And the whole idea of all forms of therapy is to kind of bring that awareness and then release that energy. And sometimes that doesn't happen in some forms of therapy. So I help people to recognize it, and then we take that step of releasing. And it's not painful. It doesn't, it's like usually people feel lighter after the experience. They feel like a different energy. They feel something, wow, something new. It's like, wow, what am I going to do with this energy? Like, this is so different. And they feel lighter. They feel like a weight has been kind of lifted off them. Some people get kind of sleepy and tired. Some people just feel more alive and energized. So people can experience that in different ways. And sometimes, when I'm working with people, they can feel everything. I think when we were working together, Jennifer, you were like feeling all kinds of everything in your body.
Yeah.
So it's actually a really simple process of just pulling out that, releasing that stuck energy. It's not painful. It doesn't take years. It's not
Yeah.
struggling. It's not hard. It's definitely not hard work. Hard work is carrying all that stuff around, and
Yeah.
releasing it is really easy. And then after that, you have that kind of lightness, that kind of afterglow, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, of when, like, especially for people who've never had this kind of work done before, they're like, I remember one lady I worked with, she was like, wow, I feel like I've taken something because I feels almost really high and
Oh, yes.
elevated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two things I wanted to add. First of all, did you see Sandy's comment that she shared? I don't know if you saw it, but then you were sharing like things happen when we're kids, and then we remember them, we store them in our subconscious brain, and then they're playing there. So she said that something had happened with her dad, and it was related to money with her mom. Then they got a divorce, and so now she associates that. Well, that's the way I read it. Is that what she heard and took in is that if you make money and do not depend on your spouse, you'll get a divorce.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So that's
So,
like she was able to realize that, you
oh,
know.
wow, amazing. And like these things are not logical. So sometimes people try to logic these things away, and it just doesn't work because these are emotional things. Like a child, this obviously we know it's not logical. If your parents get divorced or if what happens to Sandy happens, we know it's not the kid's fault. We know it's not. We can see as adults what's really going on there. But for that child, it's so real, and they internalize that and they hold
Right.
on to that, and it's an emotional thing. So you can't release it with logic. Logic is like, it's very like, that's all in the head. We got to bring it down to the emotional level and release that energy, because that's the real energy that's guiding you. And emotion is just energy in motion. It wants to move, but like we're holding on to it because that feels like it's like a comfort blanket or a teddy bear that the child is still holding on to, and we get frozen there, and we get frozen in moments from the past. And that's when you see the creating and recreating. That's when you see the people kind of dating the same person again and again with a different face. So they're creating and recreating the same scenarios again and again, and we do that in every area of our life. And this is all about what feels comfortable to us. And it's not, comfort zone is kind of a misnomer, but it's more about what feels um safe for us, what feels usual to us, what we were brought up with. So if we were brought up in a very dysfunctional household where you have to be quiet about money, that's going to be normal for us. That's going to be our comfort zone. Or if there was always and most people have this one, we talked about money blocks before. Most people have this idea about money that there's not enough, like the scarcity idea. And that's true, I think, in most people's consciousness. They have a bit of the scarcity thing going. There's
Yeah.
not
Oh,
enough.
yeah.
Be careful with it. It's, you gotta save every penny, and this it's a really deep program. So unwinding that and releasing that scarcity can just open up so many things. And I've
I'm like,
seen
that's a
like,
whole other
yeah,
subject.
Yeah.
Like that, we have to have a whole separate live on that because it's huge. And I can talk so much about that. I can see it in my food habits. Like I'm always worried about not having enough food, scarcity, money,
Mhm.
and just everything else, like not having enough of things. I'm like, we'll have to set that up because that's a whole nother subject. But
Absolutely. And, oh, no, as an entrepreneur, like this whole idea of competition, and
yeah, yes.
especially amongst women, the whole idea of I had a client and we were talking about this yesterday, the
Mhm.
whole idea of, women pulling each other down, she's going to steal my man, this whole idea of scarcity. And women, we've kind of, especially women, I think, have been, but men in their own way too, we've been brought up with this idea that we can't rise together. We've got to pull each other down, like this whole bitchy. And that all stems from this idea of scarcity, of not enoughness. And
No,
people
yeah.
are triggered when they hear people that are doing the same thing as them, but without realizing that what you do is totally unique and your energy is like totally unique. Even if somebody is doing the same thing, it's not going to be the same as you. They're doing it with their own little pizzazz, with their own little je ne sais quoi. So it's going to be totally different. It's going to be attracting totally different people. And that insecurity really stems from this scarcity that we've just been talking about. And that's, we've got to collaborate with each other, not compete.
Yes, and that's why I created the Call to Connect events, is because I want to create collaboration over competition, because that's an abundance mindset that there is
Yay.
for all of us, and not the scarcity piece. So it's awesome that you said it. So if you're just joining us, we do have an event tomorrow. It's $10 at 10 a.m. To 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Emma, I say this because you're on this side of me. She is our featured healer. So she's going to be doing a group clearing for everybody, and you can come and experience that, or you can join us again, or both, on Thursday. She's going to be back here, and she is going to actually have two hot seat coachings. So I have, after seeing Sandy's comment, I actually asked
Yeah,
her.
come Sandy. Come Sandy. Come to the call. I would love to work with you on that. That would be cool.
Yes.
And I mean, when I've worked with people on Clubhouse, like even in those 15-minute, 20-minute sessions, I've seen people get amazing results. Like
Yeah.
feeling totally different about a situation, no longer procrastinating because it's just that one little thing that needs to shift.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, come. I encourage you, Sandy. Come to the call
She
next month. Yeah.
committed. She said yes.
Yay!
Yes, I was
Yay!
messaging her because I was like, "Is she
Woo!
free? We have one seat left. This is like divine right now that she wrote that." And then
Yes,
she's free, and so she said she will do it. She's a little scared, but she'll
amazing.
show up.
Yes,
Yay!
I'm
So we got our
excited.
two hot seats, so people can come. This is why I want to do things like this live. First of all, I always believe that, like, when people are open and vulnerable and share their experience, that other people can also get healing just by being there, being in the presence, and
Definitely,
hearing. And then,
100%.
yeah, because when I did your room, you were talking to other people, but I was getting those same messages applied to me. And so I felt like I
Yeah,
was still getting, part of the readings were for me too.
definitely.
Um, and then it gives people an idea of what the work looks like. So when I first started, I was like, what is all this stuff? I was open to it, but it was weird to me. And so I want to show people, like, here's what a session looks like. It's really simple. Things come up, you talk about them. So for my session, I wanted to talk about this earlier, but it's all coming through just in the perfect time. So, we just talked, and we started off with what was going on in my life. And then instantly you were like, oh, I see a connection. And, I can see a lot of connections for myself, but when it's your own stuff, you're just so close to things that people
Mm,
outside of you can see so much better, more clear than you can, because you're not involved in it. And we just went through, and then you're super intuitive, and all together everything was working, and things would come up, and I would share and you would share, and then, like, I really felt it in my body. So emotions and things, they manifest in our body. So it was weird
yes,
because I have some pains in my body sometimes in the same spots, but there was things coming up that I was like, wait a minute, like my left arch in my foot has a pain right now. Like, that's
yeah,
interesting. And so we would check in and clear it. And, it was
yeah. This
cool.
is just energy moving around,
Yes.
and yeah,
I could
sometimes
feel
it
it.
needs. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens a lot. Like we're working on the heart, and then it'll move somewhere else in the body. It'll move around, and then we'll release a little bit more, and then it'll feel
Yeah.
more free, or it'll disappear. And I also work with people, like a lot of men that I work mostly with women, but also with men. And that's about really, for a lot of the men that I work with, it's about really helping them connect with their emotions, because obviously men are taught that, you know, you shouldn't be emotional, you have to be strong and silent and all of these things. And a lot of men, they really lack this emotional literacy.
Mhm.
So they don't even know, like when something comes up, they know that it feels good or bad, but they don't know what to call it, and they
Right.
can't kind of, they just they stuff it down basically, and that leads to lots of problems, physical problems as well as mental and emotional problems, because you know that's where it goes. If you stuff an emotion down, you keep stuffing it down, it's going to pop up somewhere. It doesn't go away. You know, so just by ignoring something, some emotion that's there, doesn't make it go away. We got to look at it. We got to recognize it and then release it and let it go, because that's what it wants to do. It's like a messenger, and
Yeah.
fear is just a messenger too. But you know, we don't want to feel it. Oh, I'm going to push it down and keep moving forward. But the fear is just like, it's like tapping you on the shoulder. Something, you've got some belief systems here that are out of alignment, and then you can change, you can release them, you can change them and move forward even more powerfully. So it's not a struggle. It's, you don't have to work 24 hours a day. You can have that work life balance if your energy is congruent and you're all moving in one direction.
I feel like as you were sitting here talking, something moved in my body and got released because you didn't hear it, but I burped. And that's a form of energy release. So it's like it moved
Yeah.
up, and I've only had a little bit of water. I haven't had anything to eat yet. I'm not usually like a burper. So I am aware that was something releasing just by sitting here talking about it and in this energy,
Yeah.
which is
And
so
also
cool.
people yawn. That
Yeah.
happens a lot. Like people yawning, burping, you know, releasing. Sometimes people want to stretch, you
Oh, yeah, I
know. So
just did that too.
yeah, like stretching, because you know something gets released and you just feel freer, you want to move, that can help. And that's why yoga is really good. I mean, I teach yoga as well, and that's like just moving your body in different ways can also bring up emotions that maybe have been repressed and kind of just lurking there under the surface in your body.
Yeah.
So all this releasing work is so powerful. And you know, just even like Jennifer said, even being in the energy of, you know, talking about this stuff, it can bring up a lot of things and release a lot of things, without even, and like Jennifer was saying, even if you're, so show up to the calls, you know, that we're doing later on, because even if you're not in the hot seat, um you can be sure that some of the things will be relevant for you as well. And you can also release them as long as you're open to it. That's all it takes. It works with people, even if they don't believe in it. But as long as you're open to it, as long as you're open to the possibility that it could be work and you're ready, then it can absolutely work for you. Because I've worked with people who don't believe in anything, who think this is all woo woo, but they're just ready, and they're open to it. So that's
Yeah.
that's all that's needed. So if you come open, and you'll see the benefit of that.
Yeah, we need to mention that tomorrow before you do the group clearing energy work
Yeah,
session, whatever that's going to transpire to be. We just let it come through at the time. But the one
definitely.
thing I do want to say is when you're new to this, like I didn't always feel my sessions. It's just because as I've become more consciously aware, and also that I've cleared a lot of things, that I'm more in tune with my body. So that I think is a piece of why when I had my session with you, I could be acknowledging, oh, I have this here, I have this here. Oh, I just burped. My throat's scratchy because I've done a lot of work. But when I first started, I would just be like, okay, I'm open, I'm here, I believe it, I trust it, let's do it. And I wouldn't maybe not feel it, but it was also because I was very disconnected from myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And some people, they're just not. You've also got to want this shift. Like, so some people, they kind of don't want to let go of their story.
right.
So yeah, so that's why I mentioned you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready to step into something new,
How does
because you could
someone
be.
know if they're ready? Like how would you be able to tell some like yeah, like
Um,
say I came to you and I'm like, how do I know I'm ready to release it? Right.
Well, even like that, having the desire is a big part. Like, so if you have like there's something that needs to be released, because some people, like I spoke to a woman last year, and she had very, very, very bad. I've worked with people with all kinds of trauma as well, like sexual abuse and everything, and she had lots of those really bad traumas incident, and but she was quite proud of, she's a survivor, and I could see that she was just holding on to it, and she was like, it's kind of like her badge of honor. I've survived this. And she wasn't, she was just holding on to it. I could see like this scared little girl with all the barriers up, but that was how she was staying safe. That
Yeah.
was, and that she wasn't ready for it. She didn't want anything else because that was safe for her. This
Yeah.
was her safety zone, and she
Mhm.
couldn't, nothing else was possible. So she's not ready for this, but like, you've got to, yeah, you'll know, you'll have the desire for something else. She didn't have the desire for something else, so I think that's a huge part of it. You want something else, then you feel open to it, or there's a possibility of it. But also, that's not to say there, I work with people with fears and everything, so sometimes you can resist the healing, and I can help people to release that fear so that you can open to it. Like one of the artists that because I worked with an artist last year, and he, like, after we did some inner child work, and then we both got the download that he needed to make a phone call, and he still had a lot of fear on that, so we released the fear, and then also he had to go ahead and take that action. So it's action. That's another thing that I love talking about, Jennifer, and that's something that I see with spiritual people they don't always do. They do the energy work and do the energy work and then don't take the action. But if you're not taking the action, you're not completing the circuit. We gotta release the energy, and then we gotta act on it. We gotta take inspired action. So what's the next thing to do? And then take those actions. That's how you move forward in your physical reality.
Yes. Yeah. The embodiment, the action, the integration. So I have done a lot of work. And then there was still a lot of pieces where I needed to, or I still need to I actually made a label for myself and stuck it on my computer. And I was like, okay, I need to stop consuming content and doing sessions if I'm not going to take the action. So you and I, after our session, you were like, you have to go write a blog, which I did. I have not published it yet, but
It's happening now. It's
yes,
happening
it's
this week, though,
happening.
isn't it?
And I
Yeah.
did the email. So the email was kind
Woo!
of like the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was exciting. And I solidified the circle, as you had called it. And that was really cool.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's so cool because, yeah, like I think it's very easy. And I also did that. Like I said, I did all these things. So I come to it with a real place of compassion. Like I was that person as well in the past who was doing all this energy work, doing all these working with people and receiving energy work and everything, and then not acting on it.
Yeah.
So that's where my work is a little bit different, because after I work with people, I'm always like, right, what are you going to do now from this energy? What actions are you going to take to integrate that? And not everyone does that. But for me, that's a really important part, because for so long I was doing all the work and then not acting on it. So I see that as a really integral part, because people are in charge of their conscious mind. Sometimes people come to you and they think you're going to solve all their problems. And it
Yeah.
just doesn't work like that. I help them, I guide them, I help them to release the blocks. But then only that guy that I worked with, he had to make the phone call. I couldn't do it for him. He had to actually take the action.
Right.
So it's like that's all part of being ready as well. Are you ready to take the action? Are you ready to invest in yourself? Like we talked about before, that's all part of that symbolic exchange, and then you're ready to receive the healing from there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. And that's been my experience. Like it's much easier if someone could just do it for me. That'd be great. But they can't. Like I have to do it. That's part of the experience of also healing too, right? Moving forward. And during our session, I had a lot of things happening with my knees, my ankles, my
Which
knees.
is
I
all
have
that moving forward. Yeah.
exactly. Those are the spots that in the spiritual sense or
And
whatever
the
I don't know,
thighs.
spiritual
The
sense that
thighs are, yeah.
oh yeah, and the feet. It's because
Mm,
that's what
yeah.
like walks you forward. And so that kept
Yeah.
coming up, and it's like, and it's a message that's come up in so many readings that I've had, so many healing sessions. It's always like you have to take the action. But I had the blocks. And so taking the action was really hard. And I kept doing the work, trying and showing up for myself and showing up. And then finally I've been able to start taking the action, which is so exciting.
Yay!
Kat says my feet hurt. I love it. And she also talked about the inspired action. She said she loves that. Yes. Thank you, Kat. She gets it. All right. So we are going to meet again on Thursday. We'd love to invite people to join us at 9 a.m. And we are going to, that's Pacific Standard Time. We're going to have 2 hot seat coaching so you can see live time how Emma does her work and what's going to come up for the people. Something will be there for you, I promise. Like, you will have a takeaway of some sort. I mean, I can't give you 100% guarantee, but I'm like 99.9% for sure, just of my experiences and also what I've experienced from other people. So join us then. And if you want to, if you're an entrepreneur or you support entrepreneurs in any type of supporting roles, we have our connection event tomorrow at 10 to 11:30 a.m. Tickets are only $10. It's going to just be connecting, creating support for each other, collaborations of people on the same journey. Emma is our featured healer. We have a speaker about like how to protect your energy because, you know, like we've talked about this whole thing, our energy is so important. So we would love to have you there. And if you can't make it tomorrow, we have some coming up in April. So hope that you'll join us for the next couple of days. And thank you to Emma for being here today and all of your wonderful knowledge. And I'm excited for Thursday. We have
I am super excited as well. So yeah, be there, be square. Yeah.
I love that. I haven't said that in so long. Be there.
Such an old expression. As I said it, I was like, wow, that's such an old one.
Yeah.
But show up for yourself if you resonate with what I was talking about. Even if you're not on the hot seat, come and see what happens.
Oh, and I want to mention, we'll talk about it more on Thursday, but Emma has an upcoming program. If you are like, oh, she sounds really cool, I feel really called to work with her. It's called Money Alignment Mastery, right?
That's right. Yeah. And it's all about the money blocks and doing that deeper work so that you can line up with money and attract it. And I'll share more about that the next on Thursday.
Yes. And if anybody can't make it Thursday, it'll be on replay or just reach out to me and I'll get you connected with Emma. She is fantastic. I've personally had a session, so I can say that with my own experience at hand there. And it was super awesome. Very helpful, very spot on too. And I told you that after the fact. So, but all right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Emma, for being here. We'll see you again tomorrow. And hopefully we'll see some of you that are watching and also on Thursday. Have an amazing day.
Have an amazing day.